Hi guys. So let's discuss CAT 2023 slot 1 set 4. A question where a lot of language is given. So we have to read very carefully and try to interpret the information that has been given to us. So let's try to go through the information. Visa processing office accepts visa application in four categories. So there are four categories: US, UK, Shenzhen, and others. So there are four categories. One is US, UK, Shenzhen, and others. Okay. And the applicants are scheduled for processing in 20-15 minute slots starting at 9 a.m. ending at 2 p.m. So I think your first slot start at 9, goes till 9:15, second slot from 9:15, then 9:30, then 9:40, and so on so forth till 2. So total there are 20 slots in a day. Okay. There are 10 counters. So total there are 10 counters, 4 dedicated to US. So I can say number 1 counter, number 2, number 3, and number 4. There are 4 counters for US, 2 for UK, 2 for Shenzhen, and 2 for others. So there are total 10 counters. Great. Applicants are called in for processing sequentially on a first come first serve basis whenever a counter gets freed for their category. So like if a counter is occupied, the time it processes, once the application process is over, then first come first basis, the next candidate who is there will be called. The processing time for an application is the same within each category. So for US, the processing time for every application is same, and for UK, but it's not that US and UK timings are same, right? Now each US and UK application require 10 minutes of processing time. So for US application time is processing time is 10 minutes. For UK is also is 10 minutes. And for Shenzhen others, we do not know. Depending on the number of application category and time required to process for that, it is possible an application slot may process later. So maybe at 9, suppose I call 5 candidate or 4 candidate US, and suppose so in US I don't think if there are 4 candidates no problem, but suppose you call 6 candidate, then obviously some of them has to wait and they might be delayed till the next slot. That's possible. On a particular day, Ira, Vijay, and Nandani were scheduled for Shenzhen visa processing in that order. So I think at 9:15 slot, Ira, then Vijay, and then Nandani. So that order is also given, like first come first basis. So first Ira will be entertained, then Vijay, and then Nandani. They were scheduled for 9:15, but they came at 9:20. Okay, so I think these 3 guys came late. So they came at 9:20. Okay, fair enough. And when they entered the office, exactly 6 out of the 10 counters were either processing application or had finished processing one ready to start processing next. It means 4 counters were empty. In 6 counter, some activity was going on. Either processing was going on, or you are about to start the process, or maybe you have just finished the process. So maybe you can say 6 counters were occupied and 4 counters were empty when they came. When they came at 9:20. So we are saying at 9:20, 6 counters were busy. And maybe 4 counters, either process had already finished, they were empty. Mahira and Usman were scheduled in 9:30 m slot for that day in others. So I think 9:30 O and M. So these 2 people were scheduled. Here 3 people were scheduled at 9:15 slot. Okay. Further more information, all slots are full. Now, so you've got 20 slots and every slot has 10, since there were 10 counters. So I could say in one particular time slot, there were 10 people who could be accommodated. So there were a total 200 applicants. That is why I can make out, because if you're saying all slots were full, my understanding will be like in one slot, there are 10 counters, right? And total 20 slots are there. And since all the slots are there, so for example, you have created 10 applicants in one particular slot. So 20 into 10, maybe 200 people came for that day for visa processing. The number of US application was same in all the slots. So like if US applicant at 9 a.m. slot was X, then for all the slots, same number was there. And this is same is true for other category. So I can say at least if in Senjen, Ira Vijay Nandani was scheduled for 9:15, in this slot at least 3 candidates were scheduled. And similarly for others also at least 2 candidates were scheduled. Okay. 50% of applicants were from US. So you can say out of total 200 applicants that came for that day, 100 were from US. And 100 were equally distributed in 20 slots. So you can say every slot there were 5 applications from US. And in one slot there could be total 10 applications because all the slots are full. So in that way, I can say this is at least 3, at least 2. That makes up to 10. So you can say in Senjan slot, 3 people are scheduled in each slot. In other, 2 people were scheduled. And maybe UK, no one was scheduled. That is what I can make out. Though looks a little contradictory when you say all the slots were full. The prima facie understanding is like that there are 10 counters. So all the 10 should be filled. But then if you just go little deeper, then you analyze that 50% applicants from US. So in every slot, 5 applicants would come. And in one particular slot at 9:15, at least 3 applicants were scheduled for Senjen. So I think, and it clearly says that every slot has equal number of candidates. So 3, 3, 3, and here 2, 2. That makes it 10. Because out of 200, you have 100 over here. Here, if you have 3 per slot, you will process 60, 40, 200 is done. So that is how our understanding is. At 9 a.m., 5 candidates will come for US visa, 3 will come for Senjen, 2 will come from others. At 9:15, again, similar process will get repeated. Okay. All applicants except Ira, Vijay and Nandini arrived on time. Okay, nice. So others came on time, no problem. Vijay was called to a counter at 9:25. Now Vijay is interestingly called at 9:25. And when Vijay came, he was scheduled for 9:15 slot, but he came at 9:20. So what would have happened? Like let's try to figure out what would have happened at Senjan visa counter. At 9 a.m., 3 candidates would have come. So maybe you have a place for candidate 1, you have a place for candidate 2. 3 has to wait because you've got only 2 counters for Senjan. And then once this process over, maybe third candidate will entertain in the. Now at 9:15, these 3 people supposed to come, but they came at 9:20. So maybe at 9:20, what I would say is maybe Ira would have been entertained because this counter would have been empty. And now next candidate to go in Vijay. Now Vijay will get into this. Because if this counter starting late as compared to counter number 1, obviously it will end later. So I think Vijay will get an opportunity to get in this counter. Now Vijay gets an opportunity at 9:25. It clearly means that by 9:25 the counter 1 has finished 2 processing, which means 1 processing has taken 12.5 minutes. So maybe at 9 a.m. 3 candidates come, till 9 to 9, 12.5, these 2 counters have processed 2 applications. At 9:12.5, third candidate for Senjan gets into counter number 1. Then his process gets completed by 9:25. At 9:15, had Ira been entered, she would have got entry at 9:15, but she came at 9:20. She got the entry at 9:20. Then Vijay at 9:20 has to wait. And once this 9:25, so I think this is how you have to process this particular part. Vijay is the 4th candidate to get an entry. 5th candidate. So for first 2, these 2 counter, first 2 people got their processing. Third has to wait. And once these 2 processing over, he'll get into one of them. 1 will remain empty. Once Ira comes, she gets an entry because first come first basis. And then at 9:25, Vijay will get the entry. So by the time, so Vijay is getting an entry at 9:25, it clearly means that in first 25 minutes, this counter would have processed 2 applications. So every application is taking equal amount of time. So you can clearly say here the processing time has to be 12.5 minutes. Another interesting point that we process is when Vijay came at 9:20, 6 counters were occupied. So how those 6 counters will be occupied, just understand. See, in US, at 9 o'clock, all 4 counters will get busy. 1 candidate will wait. And at 9:10, 1 candidate will get free at 9:20. and rest of the people, rest of the three counter will get occupied at 9:15, because next five candidate will come at 9:15. So at 9:15 to 9:25, so you can say when Vijay comes at 9:20, all these four counters of US are busy. And I can clearly say that both the counter of Senjan also busy. Had they were not busy, then Era would have got entry immediately at 9:20, right? And Vijay also would have got entry at 9:20, because if both the counters not occupied, then they both would have got entry at 9:20. Vijay would not have to wait for that time. If Vijay had to wait, it means both the counters were occupied at 9:20. So you can clearly say 4 plus 2. So at 9:24, counters of US were busy, two counter of Senjan was busy. It means others were not busy. So what does it mean? That by 9:20, the others counter of free. It clearly means though others is processing two application in each slot, which clearly means their processing time has to be less than 5 minutes. So the candidate who entered at 9, before 9:05, their processing would be done. And here when Osman and Mahira came at 9:15, they immediately got the processing started, and by 9:20, before 9:20, the processing was finished. So that's why at 9:20, when Vijay, Ira and Nandini came, they saw that four counters of US were occupied and two counters of Senjan were occupied, while others were already finished with their processing. So that is how the question looks like. So here processing time has to be just less than 5 minutes. So now we have already processed the information. Now based on this, we can answer the question. A bit, I would say, tricky one. You have to process the information very clearly. First question: how many UK applicants? UK counters were free across the whole day, so the answer has to be 0. What is the maximum possible value of the total time in minutes nearest to the integer value required to process all applicants in others category? Now, others category is processing total 20 application throughout the day. Sorry, 40 application. I'm so sorry. Right? And one application maximum to maximum could take just less than 5 minutes. Right? So answer will become 200 minutes. So I think 200 minutes. It would be just less than 200. But since it's the nearest to integer value, I will take answer to be 200. Which of the following is the closest time when Nandini's application process gets over? Great. So I think we can clearly say that 9 at 9, Senjan 2 candidate and Senjan Vija processing time is 12.5. So now just go with this. First two and Vija processing will done by 9:12.5. Then third candidate gets processed by 9:25. And here Era will start at 9:20. So Era's process will finish at 9:32.5. And this is the time when Nandini will get an entry. And she will take another 12.5. So it will become 9:45. So the correct option has to be option number 1. And which of the following statement is false? The application of Osman was completed before 9:45. His process is completed before 9:20. So 9:45 definitely true. The application of Mahira started after Nandini. I think Mahira's process was finished by 9:20 and Nandini started 9:32. So started after Nandini has to be false. So second is definitely false. Mahira was completed before Nandini, that is true. The application of Osman, though you can say your answer has to be between 2 and 3 because these two are contradictory statements. So one of them can only be 2 and one of them has to be false. So I think second is false. Second is the correct answer. And when did the application of all US candidate gets over on that day? Now understand for US. So just let me erase and I'll just do it for US. Let's try to understand what is happening for US. So at 9, US has got 4 counter. So candidate 1, 2, 3, 4 gets over by 9:10. And candidate 5 will at 9:10 he'll start and by 9:20 he'll finish. So first slot, 4 candidates finish themselves in that slot, within that slot itself. Fifth candidate is exceeding 5 minutes, like by 9:20 is getting free. Now rest of the candidate, like 6th candidate will get at 9:15, 7th will get at 9:15, 8th will get at 9:15. So these guys will be over by 9:25, and next guy will get at 9:20, will get over by 9:30, and one of the guy, that is number 10th, will start at 9:25. Sorry, 9:25. So he'll finish at 9:35. So all the candidate are finishing in that slot, only one candidate exceeding by 5 minutes. So I think if I apply the similar logic for all the 20 slot, then by 2:25, because 2 o'clock, all the 4 candidate of the last slot will get finished by 2:10. Sorry, that slot by 2:20, but one person will wait for next slot. So I think the correct answer will become last slot starts at, just hold on, ending at 2. I'm so sorry. So I think last slot ended at 2. So last candidate has to exceed 5 minutes. So I think he'll get over by 2:05. My bad. I assume that last slot started at 2. Last slot ends at 2. So all the candidate of US will finish by 2 except one. He will exceed by 5 minutes. As we can see that first 5 candidate for slot 1, one of them has to stay back till 9:20. In the second slot, 10th candidate has to stay till 9:35. And similarly, next slot, one candidate has to stay till 9:50. So that is how you can say the last candidate will finish at 2:05. So option 4 is correct.